Kevin, we have a great show today. It is my mentor, my first and only creative director, my real first boss that I had as a designer. It is the man who gave me my first job as a junior graphic designer, my friend, creative director, interior designer, and camp lord all the way from Topanga Canyon. The one and only Chad Hogan is on the show today. He came here to the studio in Greenpoint, and we had a great conversation about Chad's childhood, sort of growing up in skateboarding, loving hip hop, working for Bad Boy and Rocawear. And then, of course, we get into some vitaminwater stories from back in the day and talk a little bit about what he does now. And it's a great show, and it starts right now.
My design history is, it was a crazy time. You know what I mean? Let's just say that. But
no, but that's the kind of fun part of all like this. Like, and to be honest, like I was like, oh my God, what am I going to talk to Chad about? And it's like, there are so many things that I want to know. And I've talked to you about some of the stuff, but like to go back to some of it is kind of fun, I think, personally. And like, I think also having friends in here and having like other studio owners and things like that, and designers, I'm like, I get to ask them the questions that like, if I could ask them and not be creepy and weird about it, like I can.
That's what I love about your pod, is that you guys are having fun and you're not taking it too seriously. Like, you know, like it's laced with lots of humor, and that's what it should be. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
Like, design is not that serious.
Thank you.
No.
I mean, that's
unless you're designing like spacecrafts or like robots that's like do surgery on people. Like,
yeah, no, that's really serious stuff.
Yeah.
We're making beverage brands.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Yeah,
mineral gravy.
Yeah,
you know, like,
mineral gravy. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fun. Chad has lots of innovation ideas for future businesses.
What's mineral gravy?
during the vitaminwater period, we were just coming up with maybe some like offshoots, like, you know, brand extensions, and mineral gravy just never really like,
Yeah, didn't take off the ground.
yeah, like we
It's
tried.
it's a functional gravy, is what it is.
Functional gravy.
Yeah,
That's what you
yeah,
want,
yeah,
out of gravy.
yeah.
I'm into it.
I mean, to be honest,
You could probably package that and sell it today.
I think functional foods, like if it was protein gravy.
No,
I just saw
gravy.
tree water today. So, you know, if tree water is out there and it's doing well,
Yeah.
then
Mineral gravy.
mineral gravy is close behind.
I think mineral gravy is just ahead of its time. I think that's the thing. And it's from the vitaminwater lineage of just, you know, adding two things together, vitamins and water, minerals and gravy. It's like, It's just a natural extension.
Yeah, well, everyone's trying to enrich things these days, and we're trying to, you know, reach peak nutrition and whatnot. I'm sure there's a bunch of minerals,
unless it's got like some kind of supplement in it.
That's right. Well, I think you and Kevin actually have a lot in common in terms of like.
I know that I actually want to touch on that. Before we start, can I give you guys some gifts?
This is the show. We're in the show. We're in the show.
I got gifts.
You brought gifts?
You brought gifts?
Are you Nardwar? What's going on?
I'm going to Nardwar you guys.
Oh, wow.
No, you actually brought gifts, like actual vinyl records.
First, wow. I tried to get the infamous.
Oh my God.
But Murder Music is a close second, and Queens means a lot to both of us.
Oh my God.
Probably my favorite group of all time.
Yeah.
And then Alex is like a Queens representative.
Oh
of course.
My God.
And then for you, I got Kid Cudi.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yo,
yeah.
This is so legendary.
And we actually used one of the tracks off that in one of our ad campaigns. The
Hell yeah.
Pursuit of Happiness house remix with ATTIK.
Oh, that's
so it has some
fire.
relevance to us as well.
We were just listening to Kid Cudi yesterday in the studio.
So
Dude,
true.
Such a good album. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Kevin and I were alone in the
Wait,
studio.
not done.
Oh, you
Oh, no.
No, I just wanted to say real quick, we were alone in the studio, and
Yeah.
typically there's more people here, so the music vibes are very like, you know, they're fun, they're chill, they're upbeat, they're sort of a lot of different genres.
Yeah.
I walked in, it was just Kevin and I, and it was Kid Cudi going for a lot of the day, and so you nailed it. That's
Yeah.
Yeah, and Kid Cudi birthed Travis, which I'm very grateful for, because he's definitely one of my favorite artists. But
yeah.
Cudi was definitely groundbreaking. I got some shirts for you guys.
No way. What's going on, man? This typography is
Canyon Lab
amazing.
shirts.
Oh my God.
Hell yeah.
This is Chad merch
And then this is
in the bag.
okay. So
Okay.
what do we got here?
We got t-shirts. Oh God, the Xterra. No way. That is a real mini Matchbox Xterra.
And
Whoa. So
My
that's
Jeep.
the fucking
so
Jeep.
if you like think about me, you can like put those on your desk and you can park next to each other
This
like
is
back
so-
in the day.
This is the sweetest thing ever, Chad. Can I tell you that I was telling these guys a little bit about you? I talk about you all the time, of course, but today I was like, okay, we got to get some Chad lore. And I was telling them about your car.
Oh
that
yeah,
you got
Samantha.
that was like 30 feet off the ground. And I couldn't get into it. I believe I ripped at least 2 or 3 pairs of pants.
Oh my God, you ripped the jeans trying to get in.
Yeah, because I was a bigger guy.
From knee to knee.
From knee to knee.
He was full on air gapped.
Yeah, because Chad. So we got some vitamin water money. Chad obviously got a little bit more than I did probably. We don't check balances.
We don't disclose.
But the first thing Chad did was got the most souped up rig you've ever seen in your life. Like, talk to me about. Well, it was a Jeep.
I'm a Jeep guy.
Yeah.
I love Jeeps. I had an opportunity to build the Jeep that I really wanted to build.
Yeah.
And so I built it through a company in St. Louis and then drove out with military. We actually flew out and then drove it back, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
St. Louis is crazy.
And you would ride around in Williamsburg and like.
Well, it was actually pretty functional for New York because New York's roads are pretty bad.
Definitely.
Like when everybody gets shoveled out, all I'd have to do is just like drive over the snowbank.
Yeah, dude, you're right.
Yeah. It was great.
It's an amazing car. And I just remember so many dudes would come and talk to you about it. I remember that. Like,
Can we talk about the WD?
I mean, we have to. I mean, okay. Can we?
So there's cars are sometimes or used to be referred to as chick magnets.
Yeah.
Not my car. My car was the wrinkled dick magnet. Because there's just old guys would pull up on me and be like, "Oh, what kind of rims are those?"
No, it was an amazing.
It's funny because Laura, my wife, like she still says WD sometimes. She's like,
yeah, shout out to Laura. Like this car was so dope, and it was just like it was a monster truck, is what it was. And I just remember riding around in that, and I'm just like riding with you in the shotgun. I was just like, this is so sick. And then I would get into my Nissan Xterra, which is my car of choice, which was in blue, which is so dope.
And Alex's car was always, the back seat was always filled with like mad empty bottles. There was just like a whole, like you'd get in the back and you'd have to kick bottles out of the window.
Oh man, listen,
he was living little trife back then, but now he's like,
I'm still not the cleanest guy, my apartment sometimes will get a little out of hand, but that guy that has Kevin's car is not the cleanest car.
No, my car's pretty clean.
Okay.
Yeah, I tight ship in there. I mean, I got like sleeping bags and whatnot, but I got to keep it clean for all my gear.
What happened to Samantha? Where'd she go?
Samantha, she was sold.
Okay. Yeah.
And a more reasonable car was purchased
for the Topanga Canyon lifestyle.
I do have a truck now, which is in the same vein of Samantha, which is a Gladiator. It's a pickup truck version. It's still hooked up, but it's much more for function and less for like fashion. So
oh my God, I'm getting flashbacks.
It's the family fun mobile now.
Dude, the speaker system in this thing was so
the speaker,
crazy.
Yeah.
It was so loud. I used to feel my chest I was like like vibrating in my whole body. I was like, Chad, can we turn this down just like a little bit? And he was like, nah, turn the shit up.
Yeah. Well, so just to rip on that a bit, like I came from the era also where like at Rawkus Records, when we were there, like the last mix of the song, we would go and bring it into the truck to see how it sounded. So like music in your car is like everything. You know what I mean? Like to this day, like my favorite albums are experienced at night driving on road trips in a vehicle. You know what I mean? So like there's nothing that replaces that feeling. You know what I mean?
No, a song in a car is very different than a song in like anywhere else, right? Even like, I don't know, there's no better feeling than driving and listening to music. And I was telling the team also about your apartment in Williamsburg. And like, I was like, Chad was here. It was probably what year? 2010, 8, 7, 6? When did you move to Williamsburg?
I moved to Williamsburg in 2001, right after 9/11.
2001?
Yeah. But I was already in the neighborhood. I was like in Long Island City in like 96.
Holy shit.
And I was dating a girl in Williamsburg, so I was kind of living between those two houses. So I kind of saw what was happening to Williamsburg very early. Yeah. Like there was like Black Betty, Planet Thai, the diner. There was literally like 4 places to go eat or hang out. Yeah. Black Betty was the bar, the diner was the restaurant, and Planet Thai was like the Thai food restaurant. There was literally like 4 places, not like now, like where there's like 100.
I mean, oh my God. There's a Hermes store.
But it was so fun because like there was just underground parties every weekend and like lofts, like the whole whole waterfront was like the Domino Sugar Factory. There was tons of people living in there.
Really?
And it was wild. It was just a crazy time. Like everybody was just like living life. Like,
it's funny. I was looking at a New York magazine. It was from 1992, and it was like over the bridge to Williamsburg, like the new Bohemia was like the headline.
Which year?
1992.
Oh wow. Yeah.
So
So it's it's been gone for a while.
What is it like to come back and see it now? Is like
I came here over the winter and I brought Zion, and I was expecting this like really crazy difference. And to be honest, it still felt like home. Like I walked down Bedford from like my old place. We stopped by my old building. We rang my doorbell to see if I could get in.
Yeah.
We went to Motorino. I took him to the diner. Like, I just wanted to show him the hood and like, and it didn't, I mean, apart from like some fancier stores, it didn't feel that much different to me, to be honest. Everybody was like, it's so different. I was like expecting like this like insane, like
Epcot Center. Yeah.
No, it didn't feel that much different to me, but
it does still have, I mean, the charm is still there. It's still one of the best places. Like people from all over the world come to Williamsburg and come to see Brooklyn. And it's like, I still tell people if like you've never been to Brooklyn before, like go to Bedford and get a slice of pizza at Vinny's. That's still there. And
I'm a huge proponent of my love for New York and Brooklyn, and I always will have it in my heart. I've never talked bad about it because it's insulated from a lot of the bullshit that the rest of the world has to deal with. New York is always going to be cool. You know what I mean? Like, it just is. The way people live on top of each other, interact, like the variety and the intelligence of the people that come here is just like it's second to none. Like there's no other place like it.
Yeah, it's the best, and I'm incredibly biased, but it's I've not been to any other city that I personally could see as. So you grew up upstate, so that's like your what town specifically?
Well, I was born in like further upstate. I was born in Nyack Hospital. I lived in a bunch of different places in Rockland County. Spring Valley, Pomona. I was born in a trailer park, actually, like pretty far up. When I was young, when I was like 2 years old, and then my mom and dad were divorced, and we moved into an apartment, and then we eventually moved into a house, and so we lived in a bunch of different places in Rockland. But it's about 45 minutes away from the city.
Did you come to the city when you were in like high school or like?
So anybody that was like even remotely interesting or cool, kind of like navigated towards the city at some point in their like young adult life, and so my story really started when I was like 12 and I got into skateboarding. I remember I saw like a Thrasher magazine, and I was just like, as soon as I saw it, I was like, what is this world? Like, because it was already like a substantiated culture at that point, but skating was much more of a West Coast kind of thing. Like there was some skateboarding in Jersey and Long Island because of the surf scene, but in Rockland, there really wasn't much going on. And as soon as I got into skating, then I was just like, 100% honed in. I was like, this is my life. And I've always been that type of person where like I'm obsessive about the things that I love. Music, design, skateboarding, now the outdoors. Like that's just part of who I am. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm obsessive to a fault. Like, and same thing when I was a kid, as soon as I picked up a skateboard, I was in love. Yeah. And that opened up a whole door to this culture that was so amazing. Like Transworld Skateboarding at the time was being art directed by
David Carson.
Yeah. David Carson was the
shout out to David Carson, legend of the game.
He was the first dude to do mashed up typography. Well, I shouldn't say the first dude. He popularized mashed up photography and photos, assemblage on the page, and he really brought it to publications in a really distinct manner. And then he did Ray Gun after. Yeah. So that in combination with Thrasher, which was much more different aesthetic, it was more underground, it was more punk, it was like San Francisco street skating primarily. Those two magazines were really the only. It's like now everybody has like apps and everything. Those magazines were the doorway to like everything, Crazy. And so I started a zine called Team Smile. That was the name of my crew. That's such a 90s like skateboard crew name. Team Smile, yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I have to say like Mike, Joe, Latif. I got to shout out my boys, man. Yeah. You wouldn't be Chad Hogan. These were my best friends, and they're all doing amazing things in their own fields right now. But doing that magazine really got me like introduced to like graphic design, typography, and believe me, it was crude. It was like hand drawn typography. Like, you know, I did music reviews, like all the latest hip hop albums that were out, like, and then shot a lot of the photos. I had some other people that contributed photos. But zines were very popular in skate culture and in punk culture in the 80s. And that was a big way for graphic designers to kind of like get involved into that world.
Can I ask about the tools you were using at this time to make a
It was
magazine?
just photocopier. Like, I was literally like cutting out stuff and gluing it to a paper and then bringing it to school, photocopying it, folding them in half, stapling, and all zines are half of a A4 sheet. You know, that's what a zine is. You know,
and so you were just everything kind of by hand, everything
by hand, and just from the love of just again my obsession, where like every living moment I needed to be like, you know, and I was also an artist. So like before that, I was doing murals at my schools. Like I was always drawing. So like it was just, you know, I was just like always doodling, drawing on myself. Like, you know, that was just like who I was.
Creative kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that introduces you to hip hop and sort of like music culture or more rave or more like dance music. Like what's like, trying to connect the dots there.
Hip hop was like around the same time as skateboarding, probably like 13 years old. My mom used to take me to the flea market.
Okay. Hell yeah.
And we would go to the pickle guy.
Hell yeah.
And at that flea market, there was a guy that sold cassette tapes and vinyl, and he had like some of the early like hip hop records. Like I think the first cassette tape I ever got was like a Fat Boys cassette.
Okay,
this was probably mid 80s, like early to mid 80s, and that's kind of like where when I got into hip hop, and then it was further solidified by like certain skaters, like Natus Capus and Mark Gonzalez. There was some street skaters that like had a lot of hip hop influence at the time, and Mike Vallely, and you know, so there was most of the West Coast skaters were like, you know, into hardcore, but on the East Coast, like there was like a hip hop marriage between hip hop and skating. So
in music, obviously, all of this is like subculture, like in some ways, right? Like this isn't mainstream culture.
No, at the time it was not even subculture. It was literally like everybody hated us. Like we, you know, like no one understood us. They're like, "What are you doing? You guys belong in California." That's what they used to yell at us from cars and stuff. Like, you know, like
get out of this coast.
Yeah, like I never understood the extreme hatred for skateboarders, but that just fueled our fire, and like we were just like, you know. Skateboarding at its core is an anti-establishment like culture, and it should remain that way. It's hard to imagine that now with like the Olympics and stuff like that. But
yeah, it's crazy.
But Thrasher has really stuck to their ethics.
Sure.
And that magazine is still successful, which is pretty amazing. It's still thick. It's family owned, and like you know.
I just read Mark Ronson's book. Have you read it? Night People?
No.
Oh my God, you gotta read it. It's all about like late 80s, 90s, like rave and nightclub culture.
Yeah.
And it's so fascinating because to me, I didn't live through that. And any stories I've ever heard of it are through you and through these like iconic venues of New York City downtown, and just like these parties that, again, this is pre-phones, this is pre-internet, this is pre all of this. Yeah. And it's just sounded like it was the most fun on earth.
Yeah, there was a cross-pollination going on in the early 90s between all those different cultures, skate, hip-hop.
Yeah.
In the late 80s, house, hip-hop, and reggae were played at all the clubs.
Yeah.
So there was always a synergy between house and hip-hop and dancehall reggae. And then at certain clubs like The Building and Limelight, they started playing like in a more industrial form of house, which was called acid house.
Yeah.
And that eventually became techno.
And he talks about these rooms, like there was like different rooms in these giant warehouse parties or giant, like, what's the one you just named, the Limelight or whatever?
Building was multi-level, like the Limelight had multiple rooms. Mars was probably the most iconic.
That's the one.
So Mars is in the movie All the Streets Are Silent. And there was a lot of skaters from like the shut early Zoo York kind of world that were going to Mars. And like we were hanging out with a lot of those kids, and we went to Mars during that early time.
Yeah.
And Mars was like Red Alert on one floor, Kyoki, who was a techno DJ on another floor, Funkmaster Flex, and and Chuck Chill Out on the roof. Chuck Chill Out was the main DJ, and Flex was like carrying records for him.
Hell yeah.
So this is like early, very early.
And he talked about how like hip hop was like not the main event. It was like a kind of a side room that like some people would into, or they would play at certain hours of the night, like more later into the. But
Mars was categorized by the floor, like the each floor kind of played different genres. So you could kind of walk up and down the stairs and pick where you wanted to hang out, which was cool.
You got to read the book, but also you lived it.
I mean, Mars was the most fun. Like me and my friends, we were all like, we were in the car Wednesday through Sunday driving to the city almost every night. And we didn't drink or do anything. We were just there to like,
really?
Because the scene was so like, because you had like the best dancers in New York City that were there. It was just like the style, everything about it was like magnetic. You were just like, whoa, what is going on? It was so much cooler than anything in the suburbs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was very attractive, and and we considered ourselves like kind of part of that scene a little bit.
Yeah.
And then in the 90s, NASA opened up. And NASA is the first underground rave club in New York City.
Yeah.
And me and my friends were there like at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Going every Friday night. The main DJ went on at 5 a.m. Power hour DJ. Shout out to Scotto and DB for it was their party. Scotto's still a good friend of mine. And it was just insane. They had like Prodigy from the UK, like big dance acts would come there and play in this little basement dungeon. And it was just like the floors were made out of wood, and people would sweat so much that the wood would warp and there'd be puddles of sweat. Yeah. I mean, we would dance until 11 in the morning and come out just like rip our clothes off and throw it in the trash and just like and drive home with like no shirt on. Like it was crazy. Like we were just
it sounds so fun though. Yeah. It sounds so sick. And it's like, I often think about it, it's like, how old were you, right? Like
I was like 19 at that point, I think. And I was considered kind of old. Like there was city kids going to NASA that were like 14, 15, because there was no drinking there. So like somehow kids were getting in. So some of my friends from that scene were younger than me.
Yeah.
Which is
and
crazy.
Like it was okay. Like New York and cops and everything like kind of knew about it and like didn't matter. That's kind of the vibe.
I don't think anybody fully understood what was going on.
But it seemed like thousands of people.
Me and my friends got pulled over and like they gave us all the sobriety tests and everything, and we were wearing these crazy outfits, and they let us go, and we were like, okay, like
talk about what were you wearing? Like what would you wear to like one of these like nights?
Yeah, so we were pretty creative. We started making our own outfits, which at the time was like pretty standard. Like everybody was like experimenting with like all sorts of new fashion and the stuff that we would see from the British kids. So like there was a group called Alternate that came. And these two dancers, they honestly, they looked like death. They were like so emaciatedly skinny and on tons of ecstasy. But one guy had a huge T-shirt that had an A on it, and the other one had an A, and they were dancing. And like everyone in New York City just copied them because it was so good. Like it was like the British like rave style. Okay. And that started to like creep over. And then you also had like the Limelight Club Kid thing that was going on at the same time, which was a little different. But yeah, it was fun, man. Everybody was like being super creative, and like it was really amazing. Like you would walk in there and you knew everybody, and the first hour you were there, you were just like hugging people, like saying what's up, like. And then Saturday night we would go to a different party, like in Philadelphia or Boston or DC. Like it was madness, but really fun.
I mean, it sounds incredible. And so you go to college and study design or art, and then
so during that time I took a brief like respite from college during that time, and then I went
just
back.
To party and hang out.
I think like I think like from a maturity standpoint I needed that to like grow a bit, you know what I mean, to go through that like psychedelic period.
I mean, it sounds worth taking time off and just really prioritizing.
Yeah.
But also, like I always say, like it's insane that kids just like high school and then go straight to college, and like they kind of just like half-ass their way through it all, and like they come out and they're like, oh, now it's job time. It's like you don't have to go in that order. And people now do take some time off, and like people don't even go to college anymore. They just go on YouTube or whatever. But like it makes sense. And so you studied design, and then
I went back to SUNY Purchase, and I had a much clearer vision for like what I was gonna do, because I at that point I knew I wanted to be an artist. And then at Purchase is where I discovered the Mac, and then I was just like all in. Like Illustrator changed my life.
Yeah,
like I've never been so obsessed with a program to this day. I love Illustrator. Like, I'll get Illustrator. I may already have a Mac tattoo. I'll get Illustrator tattooed on me. Like, that's how much I love the program.
Yeah.
But
and then so you graduate school, and then your first job is at the ATTIK, right? That's the first gig. Yeah. So for those people that maybe don't know what the ATTIK is, explain the ATTIK to a 22-year-old graphic designer right now that probably has no clue.
Try to imagine, like, I don't even know how to equate it.
Yeah. How did you even get that job? So the ATTIK is a design studio based in London, right?
At the time, they were they had Huddersfield, London, and then they opened a studio in New York when I joined them.
Okay.
They went on to open San Francisco and Sydney. James Huddersfield, he was a punk rock guy. He was doing like street art. Mm-hmm. And he got a grant from like the Prince's Trust to open a design agency. Yeah. Anyway, they were basically taking like the European rave aesthetic and twisting it into like corporate America. So multiple layers, like hundreds of layers in Photoshop, taking grids and making false dimension, 3D objects placed, like light blurs. It was, when you first saw it, you were like, what is this? Yeah. Like, this is insane. You know what I mean? So we were doing like probably the most high tech, elaborate like Photoshop design. We were doing film titles, moving image. We were working for MTV, for Nike, everybody. Yeah. And I was basically like just working on Illustrator and just making elements for them to throw into the Photoshop files. Like they're like, Chad, make me this. And I'd like draw it up and send it to them. Because these guys were so on another level. Really? And I was making, I think, like 25 grand a year. Hell yeah. And I was working from like 9 in the morning until 3 in the morning every night. Wow. And Simon Dixon, my creative director, would be like, thanks for popping in, mate. Like when I would leave, and I was just like, dude, I live here. We had a cot in there. I think I slept there some nights. Like it was, I always tell people, like, growing up in the 90s in that design world, like it was crazy, but it was like going to some kind of master's program basically and getting slightly paid for it. You know what I mean?
That's so funny. So Simon Dixon runs a studio now called Dixon Baxi.
Oh, he's a beast. Yeah.
And I was with his co-founder last night.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. Apoorva. Yeah. And they
run I know Apoorva as well.
Yeah. And they run like an amazing design studio.
Yeah. So. Simon and Will were super gracious. They kind of like, I knew nothing really comparatively to them. And they took me like on, and like it was an incredible couple of years that I got to work with them.
But 9 to 3, those were the hours. 9 a.m. to 3 p.m.
You were lucky if you left at 3. Like we would go out to eat, come back, go to a party, come back.
Oh, shit.
Like it was crazy. Like
yeah. The work-life balance wasn't really.
Well, no, you see, they went to a party.
That's true.
They went to a party like during those.
Oh
hours.
Yeah, like I would invite people.
That was
back.
the balance.
I would be at a party and invite people back to hang out while I worked.
You're just like, I got a couple.
It was like a second home. You know, like it was insane.
That's what we're trying to build here at Center, really. You know, except for people want to leave at 6 o'clock. I'm trying to go out.
You let them leave at 6? Dude, come on, man. You gotta give them the thanks for popping in.
This is why. This is why I needed to have you here, because these guys, they don't know how good they have it, and I also didn't know how good I had it when I worked for you. So it was like this is a generational thing that we just keep passing on. But mental health wasn't invented, but vibes were high, and like the work is insane. James Somerville also, like,
the work was insane. Yeah, you felt like you were part of like a movement.
Okay,
and that made everything okay. Like, so shout out to those guys, because like I got nothing but love for the ATTIK.
I didn't realize how many offices or how big they were at that point, or just like got to. Yeah,
and I got to go to San Francisco as well and work there for a little bit. Yeah. So it was fun.
And so from there, you're like hip hop. Like you got the opportunity to work in.
What happened is we got Bad Boy as a client.
Okay.
And I believe we did a couple things for them. And then eventually one of the girls that worked at the ATTIK left to start her own thing that was basically servicing Bad Boy, like in totality. And I was really like one of the only, actually Mike Spoljarek, that's my homie from Purchase, and he's a big dog at Nike now.
Okay.
But both of us were kind of like the New York kids that knew about hip hop. The rest of the people there were British and didn't know a ton. Yeah. So I ended up like leaving there and going and working with Michelle at M1, which was servicing Bad Boy. And we did like, I must have done like 5 multi-platinum albums for them.
Which ones, just for the kids at home?
Total, 112, Faith, uh, Forever, Born Again, Black Rob's Life Story. But Black Rob's Life Story was the first album that I did in completion. And it was started, the cover was started by someone at the ATTIK, and then they tossed it over to me. But it was fun, man. It was really fun. It was a good time.
Like album artwork, insides, outsides.
And it was like this sweet spot in like album design history where we were doing cassettes, vinyl, and CDs, which like, such a weird time. Like,
how's it going to translate to a tall and skinny?
But it was pain. Like doing like trying to transfer a 12-inch info onto like a cassette was like 5-point type, like, executive producer credits, trying to cram stuff in. It was like,
and I imagine the rappers, good, easy clients probably too,
So right now in the music industry in general, not just hip hop, like the dudes that are getting signed are full on marketing agencies. Like they have their own fashion guys, they have creative directors, they have videographers all in their camp. During that time, most of these guys didn't really know anything about business or about, the music business or about,
marketing.
They were just great rappers.
They were just just rappers.
So you would get like assigned to work on an album, and you'd have to kind of like figure out like, how do I make this personal to them? So I really spent a lot of time on every project in my loft, playing their music over and over and over again, so that I could like put it into my brain and hopefully have it come out as like the art that they wanted. You know what I mean?
No, so interesting.
I was so grateful to be in the room, so to speak, with like these guys, because I loved the music so much. But like, you're a guest into the culture, and you have to like respect that. And I always did. I always played my cards the right way, and like, people respected me for that. And the album projects were like some of the best things that I've ever done.
It's so interesting because, again, in today's world, you're so right. Like Tyler the Creator and these like new artists, like they're fully brand visionaries. They're seeing it from a total package perspective, like from the music videos, to the album artwork, to the fashion, to everything, to the tours. Yeah. And back in the day, we talked to Say Adams about this a little bit. Like, it's literally just like they just did the music, and they were just like, record label, make me the artwork, make me everything. Like, and they were involved, obviously, but it was not like their vision. It was really given to the designers to like understand the work and really create the visuals for it.
So that's a good segue into the next phase of my life, which was Rawkus. Yeah. So, my boy Willow reached out to me. He wasn't my boy at the time. He was a stranger, but he had heard about me, got my number somehow, and invited me to come up to Rawkus because he knew that I did album art. And I ended up like going over to Rawkus to work. And Rawkus was a totally different thing. The artists there were like very involved in their, and there was a lot more freedom. Mainstream hip hop in general, the record companies only wanted an image of the artist that was recognizable on the cover. Yeah. Unencumbered by other graphics, just like their name and then a picture of them. Yeah. Because they didn't want to take the chance of like not being recognized as like, a kid who's going to buy it. Like they need to know that that's what they're buying. Underground hip hop is different. The guys are much less like, they want to do more abstract stuff. Some of them just didn't like being photographed in general. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like a Company Flow, I don't think they were ever on any of their album covers. So there was a lot more freedom, and we had Rawkus distribution, which was great because we were doing vinyl for like West Coast artists, guys that weren't even signed to Rawkus. We just had a distribution network, so like Eminem was doing Bad vs. Evil and Royce da 5'9" stuff like through us. Crazy. And so it was an amazing time, and to be like more focused on the 12-inch at that point, because Rawkus really like was a vinyl like first kind of like record label. It was just amazing, yeah. So
and Mos Def, Talib Kweli, like ATTIK, like
Pharoah Monch, Cool G Rap, Smith and Wesson, which they changed their name because of the company, the gun company.
Cease and desist.
Cocoa Brothers, yeah. But
and you're doing all their artwork. You're doing all of this. Like, how big is this design team at Rawkus Records? When you
not big at all. There was just a few of us. Like Graham wasn't a designer, but he was in the room just being Graham. And,
just hanging.
And then Willow was he came from fashion. He was like he was doing like DC and drawers back on the West Coast. So he was trying to build like a merch line for Rawkus. And then my boy Andrew, who became a pretty serious producer, and he's produced for like Cameron and those guys quite a bit. Andrew was like our intern, and he came up and like became a pretty good producer and artist. Like he's a photographer, graphic designer. But
so you're churning out a lot of album artwork at this point. Like I feel like in my head, I picture you. Like,
and then Howie McDuffie. I gotta say, Howie McDuffie was the greatest character at Rawkus. He was like a street team / A&R / like. If you needed something done, give it to Howie McDuffie, and it was just the funniest, most amazing human ever.
And at this point, like rap is just like really truly bubbling or sort of coming out of this.
It was literally the best time ever. Like we were doing that. I was also doing the Mix Show Power Summit with Renee and Lillette.
Talk about what the Mix Show Power Summit is.
Mix Show Power Summit is a 4-day long party in the islands.
Okay.
At a hotel.
This is like Fire Festival, right? With a
no. It's under the guise of like business.
Okay.
All the Mix Show DJs are invited to come. Some of them get to go for free, depending on their level in the game. And then the brands, the record labels, the liquor brands, the car brands, they all go there to like woo the DJs and do deals with them. And during that whole week, it's really funny. Like. There's breakfast panels, there's seminars, and then there's music.
Okay.
So like starting first thing in the morning, there's like, P. Pablo like performing at the beach, at like 10 a.m. open bar, like
yeah.
And then there's like a lunch panel, and then so you're just going through the day, getting progressively more inebriated throughout the day.
Yeah.
And then the parties go until 4 a.m.
Yeah.
And then you just do it all over again.
Sick.
And it's just complete mayhem, but so fun. All the artists are there with no security or limited security because it's limited to one hotel. So if you're not at the thing, it's not like Winter Music Conference where anybody can show up.
Sure.
And shout out to Renee McLean and Lillette because they put on the best. Like it was awesome.
Yeah.
I got to meet so many people. In fact, the reason why I went to vitaminwater stemmed from that relationship with Renee. But yeah, so we did that. We worked on it like half the year, like organizing it, designing it. I was the creative director. I shot the photos for it. And then we spent 4 days at the event.
I remember you showing me photos of through the years of this event because obviously like people don't have iPhones, right? So it's only people with real cameras and sort of documenting this stuff. And so you have all these amazing photos, and it's like some of the artists that are just there pre-fame or sort of Kanye West or like who else was that?
T-Pain, like when he first came out, like Outkast, they were already established. Chris Brown, any like Swizz Beatz, his penthouse parties, he would just like play all the music like 6 months before it was about to come out. And it was just awesome. Like Kanye did a listening party like that, which was amazing. So there would be like these private events up in the penthouses for just a limited like number of DJs. And then producers would play like tracks like for these guys that weren't going to be out for like 6 months. So you got to hear like everything before anybody else did, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And for someone like me, I was just like, this is like,
you're just
and you're just hanging out with everyone. Like, everyone was cool and just like having a good time. I mean, there was a couple little incidents here and there, but like, which were kind of funny. But yeah, 50, when the G Unit record dropped, I remember I have a picture of him when he walked in and just like, he just commanded the whole. Everybody was just like, "Yo!" Like so the last night of the event, which was a Saturday night, the biggest label would do like an open to the public like concert.
Okay, and
that was generally like Shady Records or like Interscope or like the bigger labels would do that.
What would you compare this to today? I guess it's like kind of like a. Sort of like, I know it's like been watered down, but it's like Complex Con type stuff. It's like a convention, but like much
Complex
smaller.
Con, anybody can buy a ticket and
That's
go.
Fair.
So to be honest, there's really nothing like it. Like I talk to Renee every once in a while, and I'm like, we got to figure out a way to either bring it back, do a documentary, do a book about it, because it was special.
Yeah,
like it was the performances, the vibe, like it was just.
It was all industry people, so it's
industry only.
It's
industry only.
That's a big difference, and that makes it sort of like a closed sort of insular kind of community, and super interesting. Totally. From there, obviously, you mentioned it already, but like vitaminwater. So that connection from from hip hop eventually leads to relationships that eventually lead to you.
Well, you skipped one step.
What did I skip?
Jay-Z.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
So
a small step. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Back it up.
So when I was at Rawkus, I think we got bought by MCA at some point.
All right.
And then soon after that, the company just completely went under. Like it was like we became an imprint on MCA, I think, Uptown.
Got it.
MCA. And then somehow the whole thing just fell apart and I was jobless. And I spent like a good 6 months just designing my house. And that was kind of like the beginning of my like understanding that, hey, maybe I could design furniture or do something. Because I had a lot of free time. And I was like, that's a whole nother story.
Is that the Williamsburg place? Is that the place? Or no, this is
So I'll give you the abridged version of that story. So I went to Paris with this company called Surface to Air, and I worked in Paris for like 6 months.
Okay.
Somewhere in this time period, like late 90s. And me and my friend Rajan and Jeremy and a couple other people, we were at Hotel du Cap, which is like the most prestigious like hotel at Cannes, and everybody's wearing tuxedos. We're just walking around just like in our normal clothes. And then they informed me, they're like, oh, by the way, we don't have any place to stay. And I was like, what? They're like, yeah, the kid we were supposed to crash with like just completely ghosted. So we have no place to, like, we took the train all the way from Paris to Cannes and we had no place to stay. And it's Cyril. Cyril and Rajan were just like, we're wandering the streets at 4 a.m. looking for a place to stay. And they're like, let's sleep on the streets in front of the church. And I'm like, nah, I'm not sleeping on the streets. And then Cyril was like, oh, I know, we'll go stay with my godfather. And I was like, all right. So we jump into a cab, we drive off up into the hills. It's like 6 a.m. We get to this dude's house, and he's a famous sculptor in Europe. And he had this like beautiful Mediterranean property with like a handmade house with like a wrought iron fence with like faces like twisted into the metal, a little path winding up to the front. And there was everything in this house. The guy opened the door. He didn't speak a lick of English. He welcomed us in, cooked us breakfast. Everything in the house was handmade. Everything. Wow. The tiles on the floor. There was like a stainless steel bullhorn on the refrigerator. The mirrors had etchings in them. He took me to his studio, and he had this crazy sculpture studio, and everything was handmade. Even the wrenches had like totems carved into the handles. Like, I had never seen art like that in my life. I had a Ricoh R1 film camera with one picture left. I'm at this guy's house and I'm like, what do I do? Like, how do I take a picture of this? Anyway, that experience changed my life. Wow. That one night. Wow. Because when I got back to Brooklyn, I questioned everything. I was like, you're not even an artist. You're making like album covers, like little pieces of paper that go inside of a plastic case. Like, this is meaningless. Like, these guys live in their art. Like, they live, like, everything is made by them. So Rawkus goes under. I go to Home Depot and just get a truck. I rent a truck from U-Haul and I fill it with wood and I just build all my own furniture. I'm just like on a mission to like. So that was my first foray into interior design. And then a friend of mine was working at The Rock and she hit me up and she was like, hey, they're looking for a creative director. Come by. Let's talk. And then that's when I started my.
And so who do you meet with, like, on that first like meeting? Is it like Jay, or is it like Jay's team? And is Dame Dash in the picture at this point?
It was mostly Dame. Jay. So just to be clear, I worked for Rocawear. Okay. So I wasn't at the record label. I was at Rocawear.
Got it.
Rock La Familia. It was like the parent company for C. Ronson, State Property, America Magazine.
Oh shit.
Teray Watches.
Wow.
Armadale Vodka. They had probably like 9 or 10 brands at that point.
It's crazy that Jay-Z at this point of his career, who was like kind of just starting out, not just starting out, but like not that down the road. He already has like 9 companies and like is already like.
A lot of these companies were companies that were partnerships between Dame and other people. Some were involved with Kareem Biggs and Jay, but I think that's where like some of the splintering took place. But I don't want to speak on all that because
we don't need to get there.
But anyway, the people that I met at Rocawear were amazing. Like Aunt Lava, Teddy. That's where my first
shout out
first job with Teddy U. And then, Emmett Shine,
Yeah,
Emmett
he was
Shine.
on the pod.
Yeah.
And so you're there, and is a lot of the work like clothing graphics, like, or is it like
it was marketing for the clothing brands? We weren't doing the graphics for the clothes. That was a whole different division. We were doing the marketing for the brands.
And this was a big brand. I mean, at this time, again,
Rocawear was kind of like the breadwinner, and then these other ones were kind of up and coming. Like State Property was pretty big. C. Ronson had like a moment.
Yeah,
I mean, it was like a lot of people were into C. Ronson for a while, and then the other brands were they were up and coming.
And so at what point does someone sort of say, hey, this is a beverage company in Whitestone, Queens that is putting vitamins into water?
So I was at Winter Music Conference with my friends at the Shore Club, and a recruiter called me.
Okay.
I think her name was Kelly. And
shout out Kelly.
Yes, shout out to her. And I was on a balcony at some like event, and I could barely hear her. And she was like, she tried to set up this thing. And I was like, vitamin water? Like, why would I want to work for a beverage? Like, I just didn't even understand like the call. Like, I was like, all right, whatever. Like, I'll call you back, I guess. And at the time, this was very convenient because at the time, like designing in hip hop was becoming less and less attractive. I think like doing what I really like to do was album covers, and I obviously wasn't doing that anymore. And the Rocawear thing was kind of like it was kind of like a bull ride. You kind of just hold on for life and hope you don't get tossed off. So this came at a perfect time, and I had heard through people that vitaminwater was this like amazing company, and that I should at least go, and check it out. So the connection there was Chris Lighty, who was he went to Mix Show Power Summit, and James Cruz, and I believe they were the ones that gave Rohan the information about me, and that's how they got my name originally.
So you go into Whitestone, Queens, you go to the office, and you meet Rohan. So who do you meet with there?
Oh man, I think I met Ro and Mike first day, yeah.
And they were like, we're a beverage company. And we need a creative director. Was that sort of generally the vibe, or like what were they like looking for? Because there's no creative team, right, at this point.
There was no creative team. There was a brand team, and they were looking to build a creative department. They wanted to take people from arts and entertainment, not from CPG, because CPG was kind of lame and just like, they wanted to like. I think they wanted to behave like a record label. Really? So record labels, like when you have an artist that's like coming out with has a single and it's hitting, you just have to pour all your money behind that artist. You have to be in the moment. There's no long-term strategies or like, well, there used to be artist development, I guess, but you have to be like, you have to know what's going on and just put money where it makes sense. And I think that's Rohan's idea, was just to like be reactive to what was going on in culture. Sure. And not be like so staid and like, like creating like, long-term strategies and just behave like a record label. So, there were some people that came over from MTV. There was me. He was just trying to hire people that weren't from CPG.
Non-traditional sort of like out-of-the-box thinkers and people that were, that could understand this out-of-the-box beverage company. Yeah. So you're there for like a couple months. You're like, I just need one designer. I just need one really talented young designer from Oceanside, New York. And, just talk a little bit about, when I interviewed, and just, again, I'm not going to make this all about me and our work together, but that same recruiter, I believe, is the one that reached out or answered. Maybe, yeah. I think because I spoke to her recently, or she like recently. No way. On LinkedIn, I got a message being like, "Hey, I was the one that placed you back in the day," and I was like, she was like, "Congrats on everything," and I was just like, "Holy shit!" Like, because there was this one recruiter that was putting a lot of people into this beverage company. Yeah. And I believe the like general brief was like, we want people, that were non-traditional, I guess. I don't know. It was just like a very specific vibe that they were trying to curate with like people.
Personality with purpose.
Personality with a purpose.
Or personality over skills.
And I remember which was attitude kind of, over skills.
Yeah, which was kind of demeaning to certain skilled individuals.
You're like, what do you mean? I'm the most skilled designer that you've ever seen. You're like, attitude first. But no, so I remember my that recruiter conversation. I had like one time, I was like, what should I wear? And they were just like, oh, it's very casual. And I remember I wore a red polo and black, like tucked into black slacks. And I came in and I was like, hi, Chad. I'm Alex Center. Nice to meet you. And you asked me like a couple questions about like what magazines I liked.
That was important back then.
No, I know. And you were like, what music do you listen to? What magazines do you listen to?
Yeah, that's the input. You got to pour into the brain so you could come out the other end.
That was the interview. Yeah. And then I remember Rohan came into the interview and because I'd worked for the Knicks as an intern.
Yeah.
And I had season ticket package as like one of the things I'd worked on. And he came in and he was like, and you showed it to him and he's like, oh, maybe I should get season tickets for the Knicks. It wasn't considered as a design piece of work. Yeah. It was just, he should get tickets. And I remember going home and like, I was like, I think that went well. Like me and Chad really connected. We went to the same school, like, cause you went to UB for a minute.
Yeah.
And I was just like, we both like hip hop, and I remember I went home and I got the job. I was like a Friday and they're like, you start Monday, kid. And that, like, my life changed. You changed my life. You gave me a job. You gave me an opportunity. And it was some of the most fun I've ever had in my life. And I'm here to say thank you.
Well, it was an amazing moment. And I'm beyond happy and proud of, like, everything that you've done. And, it was a great day. And I think, like, part of the impotence for your hire was that we needed someone with sports knowledge. You know what I mean?
Which is really important.
I didn't have it at that point. And you like, for me, passion is everything. Like, like passion is what's driven my entire career. And I saw the passion in you, that how much you loved like sport and design. And that's what you need. You know what I mean? Like everything else can be taught.
You're going to make me cry. Yeah. Like that's, cause I talk about this sometimes cause I talk about how like a non-traditional path for me was to go take an internship at the Knicks.
Yeah.
And like, as a designer growing up, like there weren't many designers that like sports, like, and for me to take that internship, like had work in it that got me to your office and to show you sport design. And at that time, vitaminwater had a bunch of athletes on the roster that were these local heroes. Yeah. And what you needed and was someone that could design and also loved sports or understood sports. And like, that's just like, again, just like, I couldn't have scripted that. It's just like one of those things that was my path. And my path was around my thing and your thing. Your path is obviously insane and incredible. But I just think about that. Like every person goes on their own journey and it's like, it has to be guided by who you are and what you like. Yes. Right? Like, and otherwise you're just kind of trying to find someone else's path and do what they do because that's what they like. But like for me, it was like sports and then eventually to beverage. And I don't know, man. I'm look back on it again. I just think about the people that were there and the culture. And I still bring up vitaminwater on so many calls to people. I was like, yeah, I worked on vitaminwater in like the 2000s. They were just like, their eyes light up and they're like, holy shit. Like, because talk about like what it was like in that building, like those years.
Yeah. So the reason why I wanted to work there is just the energy was just insane. Like it was definitely a different world than what I was used to. It was a little bit more of like the bro, like jock guys, like the sales team, like Goldie and those guys.
Yeah,
but everybody was very friendly and like they were all like playing sports in the office. Like there was like sausage ball and like Brazilian foot tennis and there was like golf thing and like it just had, like the office was pretty terrible,
awful.
From a design perspective, it kind of looked like an insurance company or something.
Yeah.
But the people no one really sat down. Everybody was just like walking around, chatting. Like it was just very like, it was kind of like Mike Rapoli's energy, like just infectiously like all around the entire office, just like that positive, like voracious, like attitude, you know what I mean? And it was infectious, and you caught onto it. And it's funny. I was just telling a story. I came from the music background where everything was like, oh, hookups, you do this, I'll do this for you. You get me in here. Like, I was notorious for always just like bringing like way too many people to events and everything. And the first week at vitaminwater, there was like a Kelly Clarkson thing.
Oh, hell yeah. Shout out Kelly Clarkson.
My wife, Laura, like it was her event and they like invited me. And I just like showed up with like 5 dudes and like, they were like, who the hell is it? Like, who does this guy think he is? Like, and I'm like, well, that's just how it works. Like, like I didn't even think anything differently, but there was definitely a a transition that I had to. Well, I don't know that I fully transitioned. I think I brought my own like.
Did they let all your boys in?
Yes.
Yeah.
I never had a problem with getting people in. That was always like pretty easy for me. But it was just like a different culture, like especially after we got bought by Coke, because Coke like has very strict rules about everything, and like you can't, there's no such thing as gifting or like But the music world just behaves completely differently. It took me a while to like make that transition to like the corporate world, so to speak.
Yeah, and it's funny because like that, looking back, it's like pseudo corporate, obviously as it became Coca-Cola, it became more corporate, but like
it was a slow burn into like like slacks and tucked in shirts, like they started invading, like coming up from Atlanta, and like before you know it, like
I always thought that like your like energy and background and your design skills and everything and was so much of like what drove the cultural cachet of vitaminwater in my mind. Again, I'm a 21-year-old kid, and you were just coming from hip hop, and we were doing this like 50 Cent artwork, and you had one of those flip phones, the sort of
the sidekick. Dude, I tried to get I was gonna give you one. I was trying to get a sidekick, dude. Because so funny story about the sidekick. One of my first trips to I was holding on to the dream, like sidekicks were very like integral in the music industry for a certain period, and then they were quickly adopted by like teenage girls soon after that, and everybody had transitioned to BlackBerry, and I was not ready to give up the sidekick just yet. And we were at
so hip hop.
We were at a shoot for a commercial with all these like pretentious LA people, and there was a stainless steel desk that was like hollow, and I put this phone down on it. And it had like some Rick Ross, Every Day I'm Hustling, ringtone or something.
Hell yeah.
And I had to use the bathroom. I went to the bathroom and left it on the table in front of all these producers. It was like a big like pre-pro meeting.
Okay.
And guess who calls me? Like 50 times. Darren.
Oh yeah.
And I'm in the bathroom and I hear it like going off. And I'm like, oh my God. When I came back, the hatred, the piercing eyes of hatred that went through my soul, like at that table, it was. So it's amazing that a device could cause that much division.
I distinctly remember it. I just distinctly remember you having one and just being like, dude, this guy is the man. I just looked up to you so much, and like you.
I was holding on to the dream with that device.
Yeah, but
thank God the iPhone came out. Because BlackBerry sucked for designers. It just wasn't our thing. You know what I mean?
I remember I got the iPhone like the first day it came out. I remember I brought it to Vitaminwater, and Rohan was like, I need to see it, and like I remember him like trying to get into it, like it was like a like a two-ender. They're trying to get the files, and I just like, no, you got to press the button at the bottom, and he was just like, that's how new the iPhone was. That like, people had no idea. We don't have enough time to go through all the stories, but I just have some here. Remember we went to Vegas and we hung out with LeBron and the Redeem team?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Remember we went to LA and I fell down the stairs?
So, okay. I was gonna bring you shoelaces.
Okay.
So Alex used to wear his shoes kind of like really wildly untied, almost like the way skaters did, like in the 90s, but like he didn't skate. And we went out way too late. We had a shoot the next morning. It was a complete disaster, actually. It was totally my fault. I like forced him to go out. It wasn't even like his fault. And we came back to the Roosevelt in LA. And
my first time in LA,
and I was going to my room, and he was going to the elevator bank, and he literally just didn't see 3 steps and face planted off the steps into the lobby, like right in front of the reception, and his shoes shot off. Well, his shoes went in 2 different directions. It was the craziest thing. I was like, damn it. Like, so that was a good story. But the next morning we got into serious trouble because we were like very late for, I think we overslept.
Well, I believe I overslept. I think
I was trying to wake you up.
I got stuck in an elevator that night. And then so I just like everything that could go wrong on a trip did. I fell down the stairs, I got stuck in an elevator, and then the next morning slept through my alarm, and I wake up and it's just like, hey,
I had to send some guy.
You sent a guy into my room, and you're like, we're 3 hours late and we have to drive to San Diego to meet Alex Smith from the San Francisco 49ers. And
oh my God.
And I remember like the shoot went okay, like it was fine. And then we got back and I remember we got brought into like Ro's office, and you and I had to sit there like got like detention.
Yeah, we were like the bad kids at Vitaminwater. Like, remember the keg that one of the agencies sent us a keg, and we got into serious trouble, and we were like, we got to drink this thing. So like, bring it back to my house, and like had an impromptu party to get rid of the beer.
Oh yeah, no, I do. That was really important. We had to get rid of that keg. Yeah, I remember we had a Four Loko party at my Williamsburg apartment.
The Four Loko party was crazy.
That was good. Well, I got a Williamsburg apartment because I wanted to be like Chad. Eventually, you know, like 10 years later, got my own place. And Four Loko had just come out. And it was like the coolest,
the good
thing.
Shit.
And we just like, it was like hard to get.
We were like, see how many we can drink until the negative effects of it would come on. But
I didn't have any furniture because I was like moving in because I was like, oh, this is perfect. We'll throw a party in my place.
Yeah.
And, Four Loko, it was a good time if I remember. Remember Medwin tried to threaten me with a baseball bat.
That happened quite a bit.
That was really early.
He used to walk around with the bat.
Yeah.
Like when files were due.
For the listeners, we had a production guy who his name was Medwin, and he's a chef and used to run kitchens or work in kitchens. And so he treated the design sort of process like a kitchen, and he needed his salmon, but the salmon was artwork files for trucks or something. And I just remember he would just stand behind me and be like, where are my file center? Where are my file center? And I was just like, I'm sorry, I'm trying to figure out these clipping paths, you know? And like, it was, you had to have a sort of mediation between us. Cause you're like,
what about the story when, one of my friends, Darren, was like interning for us, or not even interning. He was freelancing. Yeah. This is the best story. So he's sitting there, and like I come out of a meeting, and some other people alerted me to his behavior, and they were like, "Your friend is like, he's not doing his work. He's like working on his own personal projects at work. So you got to talk to him." So the next morning, we drove in together, and I was like, "Darren, listen, man. Like if you're gonna work here, you got to work on projects. You can't work on personal stuff." And he's like, "Oh, dude, I'm sorry, man. It's not gonna happen again. Not gonna." So the same day after same exact day that I had the conversation with him, I'm in a meeting and I come out and he's sitting, like his station was literally like everyone could see his screen from where he sat. He was like at a little chair.
Yeah, we had cubicles, but he didn't have a cubicle. He was like more in like the central part of the entire like office.
Yeah, I come around the corner. He's sitting like this, like with his Mac, and he's got a picture of himself like blown up 300% in Photoshop. Like making some funny face, and he's retouching his skin, like getting rid of acne. He's just like feathering off, like. And I was like,
you know what? And you know what I remember from that story? Not only was he photoshopping himself in this photo, he was on a cross. He had photoshopped himself onto a cross because Jesus, I believe, Darren.
Photoshop is a hell of a drug.
And so he was, and you were just like, what the fuck, Darren? Because Chad, again, has many friends and a very, very amazing crew of people that you've sort of rolled with and brought through your whole life. Emmett Shine, great, amazing, talented designers. And so he brought in different people that I was able to meet because I was, a full-time person, but there was also like freelancers and people, and Darren was the funniest and the best by far.
Yeah, my friends were like awesome, but like always a little bit like dangerous.
They weren't suited for the corporate world because Chad, like you assimilated because obviously you're very charming and lovable and talented, and so everyone there loved you. But I think the people that you brought in maybe didn't get the same assimilation, or maybe they weren't quite ready to play the game.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we got bought by Coke for $4 billion.
Yeah,
that happened. And the rest is kind of history. But
one little anecdote. The first day that I joined vitaminwater, Rohan said to me, he was like, "Chadwick, we need a new office." And I wasn't like an interior designer, so I was like, all right. So I went to the store. I bought some architecture magazines and started looking at them, like magazines again, like the gateway prior to social media. And I was like, all right, like I'll start working on it. And then like it never happened when he was there, but after he left, we finally got funded to build our own office. I became the design lead on the project. Worked with the architect over the next 2 years, and I fell in love with three-dimensional design, and that. Now I do interior design. That was kind of like my gateway to doing three-dimensional work was that. And so like Rohan was like, he didn't really have anything personally to do, but like in a weird way he did. He was just like, I think he had belief in me that I could do it.
That's so funny.
He's like, "Chadwick, let's go." Like, come on.
Well, because you have incredible taste, and like I think people just there were like, Chad can do everything, and so it was like, we need a new office. Chad, make this happen.
Yeah.
And so it was in Manhattan, right? It was 38th and Madison, and I remember because obviously I was there, but like this was like your baby. You were like, I'm gonna like, again, you just throw yourself into everything that you do. And so you just threw yourself into this building a 2-floor Manhattan office.
Yeah.
And what a cool project. I remember 2x4 did the graphics. But you were like not just involved in like the interior design, you were like furniture and like every single little detail.
I got to get real, I think like some clients might have just sat back and say like, bring me like, but I saw it as an opportunity for something that was like interesting to me to like maybe learn a little bit through the process. And so I took the reins and really like threw myself into it. And I was like, I love this. Like there was something like ephemeral about like, some of the stuff we were doing, like, packaging or like, even records. Vinyl, I think, is probably the most like coveted thing that you could do. But like printing in general, like it's kind of like throwaway to a bit.
I mean, you literally drink it and throw it out.
But when you walk into a space, you get a feeling like you get to interact with like, with furniture and like, environmental graphics. So I still get to design like, graphics because I'm doing like, I'm making brands kind of like headquarters, a reflection of who they are. And how they were founded, what they're about. And, it's, you get to do storytelling within the 4 walls of the space.
And you have this obviously love of design, and so it's like it's the same way you're telling stories about rappers and like through the album artwork, you're telling stories about brands and through their spaces. And so it's funny like looking back on it, it's like what a gift to be able to like just jump into a giant office project who has basically never done that before with Coca-Cola's money and budget, and it came out awesome. But also just sent you on this whole other career trajectory.
Yeah, you have moments in your career, and you won't realize it until afterwards, where like they're like defining, and you've had some incredible ones, but like it's just like a slight variation or a turn. And then all of a sudden you're like, wow, this is like a new path,
And sliding door thing, like what if that office, they decide to never even build that office or something, like, who knows?
Yeah, like there's, I always saw myself doing it. I just needed the like springboard to do it. So thank God,
Yeah. So talk about a little bit about like, so how long have you been doing interior design?
I've been doing Chandler Farms interior design for like 11 years plus. Man. And, I get to work with like mostly startups and brands, designing office spaces, but I also do residential.
Yeah. Talk about some of the stuff you've done. Obviously, I went to the Liquid Death offices, and so you did those, which is so sick.
I did the Liquid Death office, which was amazing because they're literally like I couldn't imagine like a more perfect partner from like a cultural standpoint. I mean, like we have a lot of things in common, and they're big thinkers, and they're funny, and they encompass a lot of the stuff that I really love. And I get to work with like amazing brands that want to think big and do amazing things. So it's like it's a different animal than residential. Residential, it's like it's a little bit more like expected, but with brands you get to do fun things.
It's kind of fun though. I mean, like I remember you told me that you built a teepee for like Will Smith or something. I remember that. Like
for his son, for Jaden.
Yeah.
That was kind of a strange project, but
yeah.
But that was right around the beginning, like when we first started.
Yeah. I mean, and again, it's just like such a cool like path. Like it feels like every decade you've reinvented yourself, and like you found these new things that you get passionate about. And the outdoors, obviously, maybe sort of the thing that I feel like over like I mean, I know it's been a sort of long journey, but it's like you just like throw yourself into it, and you just kind of like you you are starting, or you have a sort of a Canyon Lab, which is another thing based in the outdoors. Like talk about some of the like outdoors trips you've done.
Yeah. So I think like it's important for digital people, creators and designers to like have a break from all this stuff.
Touch grass is what the kids call it.
Yeah. For me, it was even deeper than that. I needed to break away from New York City. Like, New York City will grab hold of you in many different ways. And backpacking and going on trips was my way to kind of like disconnect from that world, and it changed my life. Like I was at the bottom of the Grand Canyon with one of my friends, Matt, and that's when I had the revelation. Like I had my grandmother's ashes with me, which I had for like several years after she passed. She was a like very close like relative of mine, and that was the time that I decided that me and Laura were going to be together. You know what I mean? Like so the outdoors can have profound effect on you.
Yeah.
You know, like it's great to be wrapped up in design and packaging and all this stuff. It's beautiful, but you need to like offset that by being like in the natural world. Like at least that's what I believe.
Yeah.
And it also just replaced my passion for skateboarding that I had, because like the outdoors has magazines, gear, trips, friendship, and all that stuff that skating was to me is what my outdoor trips are now, which I do with my friends and now with my kids.
I was going to say, now you're passing it on to the kids. How's that been like taking them out on some trips?
It's amazing. Like, you know, so it all goes back to passion. Like, you know, like some people kind of put their, you know, their life on hold when they have kids to like just be with them.
Sure.
But I think it's important to be super passionate and continue what you love in front of them.
Yeah.
Because they're going to see that passion and then they're going to be like, oh, wow, like, you know, dad's really into like, you know, he's really into this, you know what I mean? And like, hopefully they're going to develop their own passions and I can like, you know, support them in their passions going forward. But I don't think you'd ever change who you are or what you're like about just because you've had kids, you know. But
at what age did you introduce them to your love of Lil Wayne?
I mean, I've had a lot of like, you know, intense obsessions with different artists. I think like Rakim was my first. Wayne was I respected his lyrical, his wordplay and like that time period in the mid 2000s when he was just making like incredible music and just mixtape after mixtape. There was a wildness and just a craziness to like, he was in a mental state that few people will ever like ever understand or know.
Literal flow state.
But but there was beauty in that, and he was unapologetic. You know, I think he just like, you know, everything that was coming out of his mouth for that time period was just amazing.
Brilliant.
You know, like, and again, you know, hip hop is super diverse. There's amazing like characters within it. Like he's definitely like one of my top 5, no doubt.
Yeah. Well, Chad, honestly, like you're, you know how much you mean to me as a friend, as a former boss, as a mentor.
I was never your boss.
No. But seriously, man, I love you, and I'm just so grateful that you're here to be able to tell your story for a lot of people that maybe don't know about your work, and for all the people that we both know that'll probably listen to this and hear some of our stories. And it's just, you know, I've always looked up to you, and everything that you taught me is what led me to do any of this. Genuinely, I talk about you in the studio, and so everyone here knows sort of the things that, you know, kind of like matter to me, which is culture and people and shenanigans and human relationships and the meetings and all that stuff. It's just like, you know, it's what we do, but it's the friends we make along the way, and it's like. Like you said, design should be fun. It's like, we are so lucky to do this as a career, and all of us out there, it's like, it's a gift, but it's like, you got to enjoy it and you got to make it your own and you got to find your path. And I don't know, man, I just, you know, you're one of one, and I'm so glad to introduce you to my team, and like, for you to finally meet Kevin, because
long time coming.
I see some synergies with like your relationship with Kev and like kind of the way we were, which I love. And you know, there's a lot of people that like, when people kind of like move on in their careers, they have a lot of hate in their heart. I've never had that.
Oh man.
My love for you is like is real, and like I'm so happy for everything that you're doing, dude. Because I know like you love what you're doing.
Thank
you,
you,
and like it's apparent, you know.
Well, I don't get here without you, and it's, you know, in many ways I think about this place as people's first jobs. Yeah. And like vitaminwater for me, that was my first job.
That's a great way to think about it.
And it's like, what an amazing experience. Like, again, from you coming from hip hop, but for me coming from college, you know, I remember like chicken fights at the pool in Palm Springs, and I was just like, what the fuck is this place? And who are these people? And like, what a fun time to be working as this company. And then we did offsites, we did team trips, we went skiing, like we did all this kind of stuff. And I bring all of that with me here, and I'm like, this is Kevin's first job and Han's first job and Pete's first job, and like so many people here that like this is that place that I'm trying to build. And like, I often talk about like our group chat, which has been still going for what, 20 plus years now?
Yeah, it's crazy.
And so it's just like, that's the kind of stuff that like people will move on and go on to other things, but they'll.
Yeah, you want them to like
100%.
move on. Oh, and speaking of which.
Okay.
I got one more present.
Okay.
This is for Kev.
Oh man, what do you got?
Oh, actually, wait. I have 2 presents.
I can't believe you brought all these gifts. This is the best.
First is breathe strips. So I feel like if you guys want to be taken seriously in podcasting, you got to rock these sometimes.
Okay, yeah.
Like
no,
when someone comes in, if you rock one of those, they're going to respect you.
Thank you. This is good.
And this is for you, dude. So wait, let me just show. So this is a laser measurer.
Oh, right.
So I know that you did construction and stuff back in the day. This tool is like a good bridge to like from a graphic designer to a 3-dimensional designer.
yeah.
That's a great tool. And,
Awesome.
yeah,
Fuck
and it's
yeah.
called the Blaze. Like it's just cool. You know what I mean?
I mean, Chad came in
That's
here.
fire.
And
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Your Nardwar shit, just giving us gifts, man. No, but the thank you for this gift of telling your story and sort of telling the stories of your career. It's something that I'm just honored to be a part of, and thank you, man, for the time, man.
Yeah.
Thank you so
and
much.
we'll
my gosh.
let's hang and grab a beer if you're still down.
Yeah, let's do it.